Ladies and gentlemen, everybody was so fast today. Very compact, very well defined, and now I'm here standing in front of you and try to talk from the heart, really from the heart, and I hope that you will see that this TMC is something what really close to me for many reasons. You will see. When we were talking about what to tell here and how to introduce you, especially those who are new in this conference, then I would like to refer back to the first statement, what I was advised to use in order to express what is the most important thing for the TMC. And I believe these two things, namely proudly serving science and you, expresses always what our intention was. TMC tried to be a kind of keen on capturing a reasonable scientific level, but it was also important for us to be close to the people. Despite the large association and organizational conferences, we tried to keep it modest but effective and influential. This was the main motivation. And obviously now we can say, which is a little bit unique, that we have 25 years of tradition. Obviously many people are talking about the future, and most probably there will be a future. But for the time being, I have to say that what is the most striking for me is that 25 years passed away and we really could do quite a lot of things. So actually, as Professor Varadi mentioned, the major issue was for us to have a particular approach to engineering science and engineering practice. We wanted to cast light on the recent development, but in addition to that, what you can find in specialized technical conferences, we also try to achieve a particular level of integration. We believe that as time passes, engineering is getting more and more transdisciplinary. Not only multidisciplinary, but transdisciplinary. And it means for me that certain methods, certain techniques, certain approaches, certain solutions can be used over different fields of engineering. And I'm considering here, for instance, the analog hardware part, the the digital hardware part, or the control software part, or the application software part, and what I mentioned by mistake, the cyber part, which is about also knowledge engineering, reasoning engine, but also about data and exploration of data, contents and meaning. These are all coming together, and I believe this is a huge challenge. We have never seen such a need for an integration than at this time. And the major reason is the knowledge explosion. Believe or not, we have too much knowledge and we don't know exactly how to deal with this knowledge. Those sort of things, what you can see nowadays, that everything becoming online and everything becoming directly accessible, they are not helpful. What we are getting, piecewise information, and sometimes the context of the information is also missing. And obviously, it may trigger an incorrect processing of that particular piece of technology. The world around us, much more relational than we naturally see. And what is interesting, that our past was more about the things. And I believe our future with regards to engineering should be more about the relationships. Because if we put the things into the correct relationship, they disclose themselves and disclose their meaning, and we can make more with them. And this way, I believe we will be able to reduce that extreme amount of information knowledge what we are facing every day. So what I say, that important is to deal with the relationships, and this endeavor appeared in the TMC practice some 10 years ago already. We try to see the relationship between the domain and expose these relationships rather than just talking about what the people individually are doing. And these are the things what I believe distinguish us from other conferences. So I believe whenever we are talking about competitive engineering, the very first thing is to say that yes, we are then immediately in the field of a transdisciplinary science, and this is what we have to build. And this is what TMC was always good at, bringing experts together for completely different fields and let them talk, and do this way. If you look into the conference proceedings, they are also reflecting these sort of endeavors. So, when I'm talking about engineering knowledge, I must tell you that it is not only the things what we covered. We are also dealing with methodologies, no matter if they are production, design, or even management methodologies. I believe in the knowledge integration they also play a very important role, as well as the consideration of the human factors. Human is always in the loop, and I believe when we are talking about engineering, and especially competitive engineering, it is far not about technologies and engineering solutions. No, it is about people. What the people do with it, what the people benefit from it. And this is why we are having this broad spectrum, and this is why we also have attention to the human involvement and the human experiences in our program. And obviously, going towards this sort of multidisciplinary, or as I said, transdisciplinary approach, we had to figure out new ways of delivering the knowledge. And this is why we tried, because actually for me the whole 25 years of TMC is a big experiment. A big experiment what to do. And you will see on my slide that we tried out many things with many colleagues, co-chairmen. We really tried out many things, if it is works, if it is needed. And sometimes we said, we don't go further with it because actually it doesn't bring anything for the community. But definitely what we try to do is not to call our event a conference when specialists are talking to specialists, but we wanted to broaden the spectrum, and we wanted to have different way of deliveries. For instance, the keynote presentations. We believe that by inviting proper keynotes, we can make a step towards the knowledge integration and the holistic management of the knowledge. Because what I believe that actually the keynotes, if they are carefully selected, you do part of the job. What they deliver is already a reflection of the integration. And this is what we were very successful. I dare to say that our selection of the keynotes were very, very successful. So having the keynotes in the focus, having the technical paper presenters in the focus, so definitely we achieved a kind of different approach to knowledge generation and dissemination. And obviously what is also interesting, and I apologize for mentioning this very simple fact, we also working according to a completely different business model. While the society and organization-based conferences typically want to earn their benefit, we don't have this interest. If you consider typically from a 700 euro registration fee, we need for the technical things not more than 190, 210 euro typically. It means that based on the social functions, based on everything what you are enjoying during the symposium, you get back almost 450, 480 euros. And I believe this is also a different model. And this is a little bit closer to the open dissemination than, let's say, the traditional business-oriented models of organizing conference. And obviously, what we observed in the last 10 years, that this became a model for large international conferences. They went further, for instance, with their keynote invitation, and instead of just putting one person into the keynote position, suddenly they showed up with 6, 7, 8, 9. They had more social functions and whatever, and then obviously immediately they started to talk about their deficit and started to talk about their less income. Why we proudly said that at least we are very successful giving back to the money to the people actually who can benefit from it. So this is our first overview. And obviously we had many enjoyable events in all the places what you have seen in the introductory movement. But there were always challenges as well. Challenges related to the location, challenges related to the cooperation, challenges related to the professional content, and many things, even financing, I have to say. What is interesting that with the help of the co-chairman, we always manage to get over and successfully take these sort of challenges. And if I mention the chairman, here is the moment when I have to present you who the TMC co-chairmen were. I have to say again that I am very proud having the chance to work with them, and also I'm very grateful for their cooperation. For instance, Professor Károly Váradi, with whom we were, let's say, friends at the Technical University of Budapest, and then our roads diverted, but still there is a very lively and friendly contact. But I also have to mention late Tony Medland, who actually joined us still in Budapest and was the chairman in Manchester, and he also helped us a lot. And then Erik van der Linde in Delft, who is now the chairman of the Dutch National Academy of Sciences, and Professor Pergen Lee, who in the meantime became the president of the Wuhan University of Technology. Paul Sirokakis, Professor Sirokakis in Switzerland, who also contributed significantly to the organization in Lausanne. Professor Duhovnik, who promised to come, but he had again a busy day today, as always, so he couldn't be here. Then Professor Ferruccio Mandorni, who was the chairman in Ancona, and then Professor Albert Arbers, who is here. Albert, welcome again. And then my right hand, Zoltán Rusály, who helped me a lot, for instance, at the Budapest symposium, and in 2016, Professor Jean-Philippe Pernaut, who was the chairman in Aix-en-Provence. So it is a great support. I believe a little bit American style, I would say. Believe me, they are great people. They are great people. I believe so. They are really great people, and it was really good to work with them and to have all these results. Thank you for all of them. So if we go to the statistics, here is a kind of overview what we had over the years. So actually you can see here what I was talking about. Certain things came in, certain things simply go out. What we established here is a kind of middle-sized conference between, let's say, 120, 160 people in average. There is a fluctuation. Obviously, I can understand at the very beginning why we were on a kind of slowly raising path. There is a kind of end effect here also, which I still not really able to explain even to myself, but I would like to revisit this particular issue and make a couple of comments what I see and how I see the things. What is interesting that we are really international, I dare to say, because in certain cases even 30 nations were represented, which is really, I believe, a very good result for an international conference. The submission, the total number of submissions also varied, but there is something which is interesting, and I am proud to say that actually never the total number of submissions defined. but the quality of the papers. So we dare to say, even with the colleagues here in Spain, we don't have a problem if it is a smaller conference, but at least it should reflect a good quality, because that is the important, not to just publish something, but to have a good selection of the papers, what we can support and what we can work with. So this is what was also there, and obviously here is a kind of evidence what I said, not the financial benefit is very important here. Luckily we always could work with sponsors and could get some additional support for us. The most important was to provide a kind of quality with regards to the professional contribution as well as the social functions, and that is very important here. There was a period of time, actually the idea came up in 2008, that let's try to have a second type of paper, which is a so-called forum paper. The idea was that there are new papers coming in, new people coming in who actually want to present their good idea. Let's have a discussion. But later on it figured out that the people, or some of the people, consider that if my paper is not accepted for the mainstream, still they provide me opportunity to present in the forum. Why the forum was a completely different idea, and obviously the mainstream papers were considered for archiving. The same was with the poster papers and poster exhibition. Mimicking a little bit the American style, we tried to have poster sessions. At the very beginning, it slowly started. Later on, there were quite a number of posters. But in fact, when we analyzed the contribution of this the posters to the scientific output, we found that it is somewhat low, and therefore we stopped with it. The proceedings pages were increasing, as you can see here, and therefore we said, no, we have to stop with it, because the people will not pay extra to carry home our 2 or 3 volume proceedings, and we said, let's come back to 1 proceedings, and let's have just 1 proceedings. This is what we did. Also important, as you can see, that we are very strongly relying on the keynotes and also industrial tutorials. For instance, yesterday we had some academic and industrial tutorials, and I believe at least I took part in several very fascinating and deep-going presentations, also in the tourism design and additive manufacturing tracks. There were very good conferences. So this is the overview. I believe it is not nothing, and this is what we created. And what else we created are actually the proceedings. This is the first one under the title Tools and Methods for Concurrent Engineering. The second one in Manchester, Collaboration and Design and Engineering. The third one towards Global Product Design and Engineering, and the Wuhan knowledge transfer in the global world. These were the daily topics at that time, and obviously we also tried to do something with it. Going further in the line, I have to wait, and they are coming up together. So Lausanne, for instance, life cycle engineering of products, then Ljubljana, technological innovations for product development, then in Izmir, collaboration or competition between East and West, very current topic still. Then in Ancona, Italy, 2010, virtual engineering for competitiveness. And then the next, in Karlsruhe, we agreed with Professor Albers that the topic will be mobile and ubiquitous technologies for global product development, based on the fact that KIT is really a leading representative of the comprehensive product development. In Budapest, sustainability and cyber-physical system, the connection between extensive information collection and supporting sustainability aspect. In Aix-en-Provence, virtual development of multiphysics-based intelligent system was the topic, and here in Las Palmas, implementation, application, and utilization of smart system. So as you see, we are a little bit trendsetter. So our topics are in the front edge. And this is always risky because you don't know exactly if there are already enough number of people working on these topics and you want to push the science a little bit, you always have to live with this risk that actually you will receive less submission for a particular topic than needed. We have some experience how to handle this problem. But I'm also very proud of that the TMC gave the basis of many special issues in internationally reviewed journals. Here is just an example of the special issues what we did. I have to tell you, and I'm proudly saying that we are already negotiating with 3 publishers, and based on the current TMC, we will most probably have the chance to publish 3 special issues. So please don't be surprised if we contact you with an email that are you interested, do you want to contribute to these special issues. The decision will, sorting the paper started, the decision will be made within a month and then we will contact you. Altogether 37 special issues were produced, and I believe that is quite unique. Just please look or search on the internet how many conferences produce this number of special issues, which are documented. So this is also something. There was an idea to let the papers which are, let's say, not the latest to see in a kind of open access model, and this is what is on the internet. Most probably several of you have recognized that actually you can download until 2014 all the papers. Obviously we still believe that there is a capital, intellectual capital in what we create with the latest 2 conferences, for instance, and we would like to sell our proceedings in order to have a benefit for the next conference as well. And now here, I would like to tell you an interesting story. I know it will be a little bit silly, but it is a true story. The story of how we get to Las Palmas, because obviously you may say that there is a very strict plan and it is for 10 years ahead said what or planned that what is the location and how to come together or whatever. I say sometimes the life does the things differently, and it is very good that it happens like this. So actually let me clarify for you how this TMC symposium in Las Palmas came to the scene, how it started. It was not talking with the chairman, believe me, at that time. The very first thing was that one of my PhD students, Chong Lee, tried to make some research on face recognition, actually recognizing emotions on faces. So like this. This was what we were looking for. And instead, on the internet, we found images like this and like this. And this was the very first thing, because actually the search engine provided us with this image. And we didn't know how it came to the scene. We didn't know what it is, what was it all about. But it was searched. And that gave us a kind of impetus or a stimulation to look a little bit further. And then, would you believe, we found this particular image. It's already here. The colleagues didn't tell me that it will be here, but it is here. But there is something what I would like to know. What symbolizes this? I don't know. You know?
Sure.
What it is, Jose?
Your head.
My head?
Yeah.
Wonderful. So it is a head.
Thank you.
But then tell me, why it has this sort of fish tail?
Well, it is art.
It's dark. Okay, right. So it is wonderful, wonderful. But this is good to know. So does it actually, because someone told me that it is the thinker.
Right.
And obviously that is a sculpture, if I remember well, from Rodin, the thinker, you know. It is not like that. It is not the copy of that. So it is a head, you say. It is a head. Wonderful. At least I know that. But more important for us was that when we searched further, look, this was what we found. So it was somewhat, one way or other, related to the University of Las Palmas. And actually, here it is. This is how we landed. This particular symbol gave the way to the University of Las Palmas. And then I started to search further. Oh, University of Las Palmas. This is something what I heard about. And I heard about for the very simple reason, because actually I remember that someone I met somewhere, I didn't know exactly where. Later I realized that actually it was not a personal meeting, but I knew his publications or the publication of his group in the time when I was the CAD editor. So that it came to me that, oh, Gran Canaria may be a good place for it. And then I recalled my acquaintance who was sitting here, Professor Jose Pablo Soares Oliveira. And I contacted him. And in his usual style, after a half a year, he responded and he said, Imre, let's go. Most probably this was the answer, and it took a half a year for him. So, but at least it was there. And immediately when I got this email from him, I called him on Skype that, hey, Jose, are you serious? And he said, yes, Imre, I'm deadly serious. It's a very good thing. Let's do it together. And then, obviously, Jose introduced Pedro, who became actually the, let's say, the head of the conference, because everything is in his head, you know, we just have to pull the ear, push the nose, or whatever, and Pedro is producing everything for us. This is how it is working. So this was how we came together, and as I also can show a photo during our first meeting when we actually went around in this beautiful place, and actually, as the title said, we shook hands, and from that moment onwards we could do it together. So obviously that was how I landed here in this wonderful island where everything is about palms. I have never seen any scenery where there were no palms at all, or there were no enough palms. So this is a wonderful country. I believe that during the week we will be able to show you around and to see all, or to let you see all those things what we had to say based on the local knowledge of Pedro and Jose. We could visit and enjoy. I hope that you will also enjoy. Something about the professional program, because my time is also going down. So actually we introduced a change in the program. The old static type of session organization has been replaced a somewhat more dynamic one. Yesterday evening we had a nice meeting with the chairman, and we kindly asked them to recognize that it is much more dynamic, actually no reflections after every paper presentation, but in the end there is a kind of, in quote, obligatory or mandatory negotiation and discussion over every paper, and this is what we will have. The two tracks are engineering of system, and within this particular track we will have sessions like implementation of cyber physical system, application of complex system, agent-enabled system, smart system engineering, architecture, construction and urban design, and socially responsive engineering. And in the second track, support for engineering, with sessions like assembly, disassembly, and generation, product generations, obviously, data-driven design, methodologies and tools, additive manufacturing technologies, modeling, design and analysis, geometry and image processing. So actually, we are, as you see, covering a very broad range. Engineering systems as well as support of engineering are both here. But obviously, if it is TMC, then here is the time to talk about the social functions, because otherwise it is not a TMC. So what we had yesterday was already an early bird reception. I hope you enjoyed it. This evening we start the Canarian life. And the very first thing what I heard from the taxi driver when I came from the airport to the hotel was that do I know, he asked me at that time, that the evening starts here at midnight? Oh, great. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be prepared for it, because we will be a little bit longer every day than usual. Don't worry, the buses are taking us back from the places where we are going, and the drivers are already very well acclimatized to the Canarian life, so we can trust them. But tomorrow, start here in the city. First of all, we go to the old part of the city, Las Palmas, and we have a short sightseeing tour, and then we go to the main building of the university, where we have a reception of the local authorities. Wednesday, obviously, the regular chairman reception and gala dinner in a quite attractive hotel, Reina Isabel. I apologize if somebody already living there. For them, we can order a different setup somewhere else, but at least I believe this hotel will be attractive for many people. And then Thursday, the regular cultural program. In this case, it will be a Canarian cultural program, and we will go by buses, and we end up in a nice village region in a restaurant when we have a local dinner. I believe after that, you will need for some jogging, because it is typically the case that they are serving 3 meals at one time for one person. So be prepared for it. And then Friday, we will have a kind of run trip the whole day. Very interesting places. I rather would keep it as a secret, because just to have some surprise in the day, but definitely your historical memory and also the cultural memory will be refreshed on this particular day, I believe. So it will the whole day too. So then, obviously, the TMC, for me, as I said at the very beginning, it is a huge basket of memories. For instance, I remember when actually a kind of unofficial supporting organization was created by the TMC members. It was still in Ljubljana. But I also remember that actually my friend, who is from Wales and actually who came first to the Hungarian TMC, several times visited the TMC. Now he's above 80 and some limitations are there, but I remember that actually TMC contributed to the friendship consolidation in this particular case. I also remember the times when actually nights were spent without even sleeping, just for the simple reasons because we had to process some 300 papers and I wanted to be fair with all the authors. I also remember several trials, several experiments what were made by me. For instance, Professor Duhovnik was very excellent by showing me all the wineries in Ljubljana and the neighborhood, and he said that you have to try everything. That was also the case. I also remember Izmir, where actually I had to change to a effendi, and the local organizers gave me this particular suit. They also provided me the chance to dance with these sort of ladies who were hired for the entertainment, but nothing more. My wife was there also. So I also practiced, for instance, how to be a granddaughter, how to be a grandfather, and obviously this is also something what I believe when the TMC is over, I can practice and come back to this. Also, I've met very interesting people, you know, who did so many things during the TMC. And what is also very nice for me, actually, the PhD students who always accommodated the TMC and also who always form an opinion about the TMC. When they did like this, then I knew that I received the real reflection because they were so outspoken. Whenever they felt something was not good, it was just terrible. So now, as a kind of wrap-up, let me tell you something about the future. And what makes me saying things here is that I believe that our world is actually very rapidly changing. I see an extreme large acceleration. And maybe it tells me that I am too old, or I am working according to old cliches or old templates or models. I don't know, but I observe something. Namely, if you consider the 26 years actually, that was the time ago, 26 years ago when the idea came up. At that time, I believe we lived in a different world. We lived in a different world which was somewhat more relaxed and somewhat more difficult with regards to information and knowledge. And actually, when this digital revolution came into the scientific arena, for me, suddenly a lot of things changed. Positively, many of the things positively changed, obviously, but some of the things made serious influence on many, many things. So this is why I'm playing with the idea that now, at the beginning of the 21st century, if I look ahead with a symposium like this, then most probably it needs a reconceptualization. I am not sure that the old model can be applied in 10, 15 years' time. I have to say also that I'm not sure if I have this model. I talked to several people in the last 2 years, and what I found that they are also hesitant like me, at least those who are going deep, thinking about that, okay, what science generation, what science dissemination means for us, let's say in 2030 or after. So, as I mentioned, our relationship to information as knowledge completely changed. Everything is on the internet. Do you know 1/100 of the knowledge which is accumulated in Wikipedia? No. Even 1 million is something what too much for us to understand. This is the problem. And every time new pieces of information are coming in. The intellectual assets are communicated in completely different way. In 1995, there was no idea about Google Scholar, there was no news about ResearchGate, academia, and these sort of things are not existing. And nowadays, they are sending you every day a paper. Are you interested? Then please download it. How can a conference cope with it? I don't know. I don't understand it. But also, for instance, the academic social networking is really finding new forms, digital forms. And the digital form obviously provides advantages, but also disadvantages. Because, for instance, there is a kind of impersonalization. There is a kind of uncertainty related to the things. You are not sure if it is a faking or it is a true thing, what you come across. So there is no opportunity to check. And the knowledge need of the industry is also changed. I'm negotiating with many companies on a continuous basis, and they are always saying that, oh, these are beautiful ideas, but we need the knowledge for tomorrow. And there are just a very limited ones, believe me, who are thinking ahead 10, 20 years and could tell, for instance, the conference that in which direction go. So this is also a kind of tendency what I observe. And everything is accelerating every day as I see, and the challenges are bigger. And finally, what I see that there is a new generation here with a completely different mindset. They see and interpret the world in a completely different way. Maybe they have to come together. They have to come, Károly Váradi, Imre Horváth, and all the chairperson here who contribute to that, and they have to build up something for the coming 20 years. That's what I hope. And this is the end of my presentation. Thank you very much for your kind and honoring attention.